Nisambula Vinaka, Namaste, Noya Maori, and welcome back to another episode of Back in Time Season 6, 2019. In today's program, we take a closer look at the fisheries industry, visit the Coronavia Research Center, and conclude our program with speaking to a number of successful women business owners. The fisheries industry was and continues to be one of the strongest sectors of Fiji's economy. In 1996, the fisheries sector had contributed to more than 1.5% of Fiji's GDP. In fact, fisheries exports had doubled since 1987. Domestically, though, many still purchase fish from markets and roadside vendors, and in this segment, we take a closer look at one of the sources of this fresh fish purchased for our dinner tables.
Fiji is a maritime country. About 98% of our total area is ocean, so it's a fact fully utilized by those in the fisheries sector. Approximately 7,000 people are directly employed in catching fish on a commercial basis, in addition to 20,000 engaged in non-commercial, part-time and subsistence fishing. One such fisherman is Muhammad Fateh of Nangelekuro in Dawasamu, Televu. From a humble beginning of only 2 boats in 1991 to now 9 boats, Fateh says, in this business, a lot depends on the weather. It was only a family affair in those days, but then everything began to change. They caught more fish than they could handle. There was also a ready market available for the fish.
It is sometimes very difficult, sometimes good, depend on the weather. Sometimes very hard for us, can't get nothing. But too much expense, sometimes it's better on the different get the fish.
All 9 boats are equipped with a fridge each, 2 or 3 benzene lights, cooking and sleeping facilities. These boats leave Fateh shores every Monday morning with 3 people on board for their fishing trips. These fishermen meet at Fateh's farm every Monday morning before they go out to sea. As a commercial fisherman, Fateh has gained permission from landowners to fish within the Televu stretch of waters. He also has a permit to fish in the Lomaiviti waters in Nairai particularly, and in Bua, the Solevu Bay area. Every Friday, the boats return from their fishing trips. Each boat is offloaded with the fish weighed and graded. Sambutu, Kawango, Walu, and Nunga come on the top of the grade and they would sell at $4 a kilogram, while the second grade, Sanga and the likes, at $3, while grade 3 at $2. These would be the smaller fish like kambatia and parrotfish. Fridays also mean paydays for Fateh's fishermen who are mostly from the neighboring villages. The catch of each trip is equally shared between Fateh and the group. Fateh keeps half of the money, while the other half is shared amongst the fishing team. Altogether, Fateh employs about 40 to 50 people. He also runs a shop where these fishermen and their families can buy from. Fateh says there are about 50 commercial fishermen like himself in the Televu Dawasamu area. He says while fisheries officers in the division are of great help, their biggest problem is the lack of major infrastructure such as jetties, slipways, repair facilities, ice plants, and spare parts for vessels in most rural and outer islands, which of course hinder their catch to a large extent.
I asking for the fisheries department to help us for the ice plant. That's very important for us because it's too far for us for here to Nasori to bring the ice and everything. Yeah, this side, our side is plenty fishermen. I help them to bring the ice and everything to supply them. When I bring the ice to supply them, they supply me.
Welcome back. In this segment, we visit the Coronavia Research Center. Initially named the Coronavia Farm Institute, the research center has been operating since 1953. We take a look at how key the center is for agroeconomies like Fiji, its impact on expanding the sector, the extent of its research capabilities in 1996, and its role to develop and cultivate new species of plants and crops.
About 60% of Fiji's population directly or indirectly depend on agriculture. When the Cornivia Research Station was established in 1945, it was known as the Cornivia Farm Institute. It wasn't until 1953 that it became fully operational as a research station, its research activities shifting from Nandurulolo, 8 kilometers outside Nusori, to its present site. Covering over 200 hectares of rolling plains, the station does research on land use, agronomy, horticulture, plant protection and biological tests. Its main objectives, though, are to develop and culture new species of plants, to maintain those species it already has, to find ways of better managing pests and diseases, and to serve anyone requiring agricultural analysis and diagnosis.
We work on crop programs. We have a rice program, which is a very small portion of our work at the moment, because rice is not a priority crop. Secondly, we have a vegetable and maize program. We have a root crop program. We also have a tropical fruits program, tree crops and pulses. Then these are the 5 programs or 6 programs that we are working on.
Although the methods of carrying out root crop and fruit analysis have remained almost the same over the years, the range of crops research has changed greatly. In this particular lab, tests are in process to determine the biological methods of controlling the fruit-piercing moth. The moth, which is of economic concern, feeds on fruits by piercing them, infesting them with bacteria. The cocoon, which are carnivorous, have been imported from the Asian Research Center in Taiwan. These are being tested in the same environment as the fruit-piercing moth to determine how well the cocoon feeds on the fruit-piercing larvae. Similar research is in progress to control the diamond-backed moth and the centigrade in English cabbage. This is a high security zone. Parasitic pests brought from overseas for analysis are, for the first time, exposed here to ensure none escape. Those that aren't needed are destroyed in the oven. In the greenhouse outside here, samples of tissue culture, including bananas, yams, and yangona, are being tested to assess the nutrient status of the plant and the extent of damage caused through infestation. Research is also continuing into parasites that can feed on lantana and the giant sensitive plant so that they can be biologically controlled. The prime objective of the quarantine unit here is to study the various species of fruit flies in the country.
This is our culture lab, and we rear insects. It's a supply pool for our experiments. We have completed a major set of preliminary work to the development of a quarantine treatment, and that was determining the most heat-tolerant stages of fruit flies. That has been one of the major works that we have been able to complete, and we're in the process of submitting this data to importing countries, particularly New Zealand, and they're going to assess the data, and from that information we will be able to determine a kill temperature for fruit flies.
Although there's been some very positive results from the research here, the technology is yet to be passed on to the farmers.
For farmers who export, they're using that, the protein bait spraying. It's slightly different from the conventional cover sprays where insecticide is applied to the entire plant. What we use or recommend in protein bait spraying is applying a spot. On an entire plant, we just apply the protein bait on one spot. And the concept is that this protein is a food lure. It attracts fruit flies, and fruit flies will come and feed on this protein. And to this protein, we have added an insecticide that kills when they come to feed.
7 countries are part of the Regional Fruit Fly Project, jointly funded by the Food and Agricultural Organization, United Nations Development Programme, South Pacific Commission, AID, and the New Zealand government. Rhinoceros erectus, the beetle that's largely responsible for destroying coconut palms, are bred here for research purposes. When fully grown, the male beetles are infested before they are released into the wild. The chemistry lab also forms part of the research division. It's the nerve center of the agriculture department, where chemical analysis of the soils, plants, animal feed, irrigation, food and forensics are carried out.
We provide analytical services to the extension officers and to the research division, as well as to private customers as well. But our lab comprises mainly about 80% of the agricultural section, 10% of the food, and 10% of the forensic. With the agricultural section, we have the soils, the plants, and the feed section. And we also do other agricultural analysis in that too.
Tests are continuing here to determine the phosphorus and nitrogen contents of the soil. Other tests include identifying the soil salinity and its fertility, such as the presence of potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and boron. This is basically to help farmers optimize the use of fertilizer based on the knowledge determined through these tests. Plant analysis is done here to diagnose nutrient deficiency and to also monitor the effectiveness of fertilizer. The forensic unit mostly deals with cases of arson, alcohol and drugs.
And we do drug analysis, for example, Indian hemp. We also receive blood samples, urine samples, gastric content samples to test the amount of alcohol present. We also have St. Giles, patients coming in to have their blood lithium level tested, and arson cases, paraquat analysis.
The food section conducts chemical and physical tests on food and water, mostly sent by the Ministry of Health to analyze sample so that they comply with the Pure Food Act. Last year, some 67,000 different tests were conducted by the chemistry lab. The agronomy section is mostly involved in identifying the most suitable crop varieties that should be planted by farmers.
The soil is pretty waterlogged, and to get some sort of drainage and get the success of dallo growing in this sort of environment, we tried bedding system. So what you see here, we are growing dallo on beds, and at the same time we are testing out a couple of fertilizers to see the responses of different combinations of nutrients.
The section is also responsible for producing seeds for distribution to farmers.
Good evening. To our final story now, and it's all about women in business. In this segment, we visit and talk with a number of successful women who are or have made a name for themselves in various sectors of business. They share the challenges they have overcome, the inspiration behind their success, and the importance of owning their own businesses.
Fijis women are fast breaking out of traditional molds to enter fields previously dominated by men. One field they are entering with a vengeance is the business one, and in Fiji's capital, Suva, it is now common to see shop exteriors proudly portraying the names of some of these successful women. Who are they? How did they get where they are today in the competitive and cutthroat world of business, and in a Pacific society which in the past has often suppressed its women and cast them in a more submissive and traditional role?
I'm standing on Victoria Parade, one of Suva's main and busiest streets, and behind me are a collection of businesses all owned by women. Well, this is indeed remarkable and certainly a testament to the changing times. Let's begin by taking a look at a fashion shop owned by one of Fiji's most successful businesswomen.
Successful clothes designer, entrepreneur and owner of this trendy establishment is Tania Whiteside, a woman that has made it to the top of her field with a clothing range that has its own unique and Pacific style. 34-year-old Tania went straight into the fashion business from school to work with her mother, who had already been running a successful business for about 15 years. She credits much of her success to the influence of her parents.
I grew up with art around me. I grew up with my mother's influence and also with my father's influence as far as financially administrating the business that they had set up. It became something that I should obviously lean towards.
Is it a lucrative business?
It can be.
And you've got, how many children have you got?
I have two and 4 children from my husband's first marriage.
Tania admits that at times she has faced many difficulties, which she has managed to overcome.
There was a time a couple of years ago when it was extremely stressful, but once I analyzed priorities and true priorities, only then, when I did put priorities in place, things started falling in perspective, in good place. So number 1 is God, number 2 is my husband and family, and number 3, the business works accordingly, providing I keep it in that state.
What makes her range of clothes so impressive? Maybe it's because they're created for different age groups in colors that seem to incorporate the essence of the Pacific and material that is ideally suited to the tropical climate.
The inspirations definitely come from the Pacific. I research fashion trends. I have a look at color forecasts about 12 to 18 months ahead of seasons. So practical research and information and up-to-the-minute fashion information has come from that research. And from those colors, I apply them to what is available in the Pacific as far as the flora, the fauna, the leaf shapes I love, and the mood of the Pacific, the mood particularly that I encounter in Fiji, a lot of free form, freedom, the ocean, the moonlit nights.
The food business too is a thriving one in Fiji, particularly in Suva, which has a wide cross-section of people's palates to tantalize. Suva has a variety of places where one can go to satisfy an appetite, ranging from pizza places and curry houses to expensive restaurants. But there are only a few coffee shops like this one, just 2 doors from Tania's, and with their delicious homely meals, they are proving very popular. And with the right woman's touch, well, who can resist? Owner Lani Spate has had a lot of experience in the catering field in hotels and has managed to set up a food place that serves a wide range of dishes at affordable prices and has a catering service. Lani says setting up the business was an exciting challenge, but it has not been easy.
And I had the idea that I had to offer something that was different. Cleanliness, the quality of food, catering for a very cosmopolitan society. Yeah? As you can see in our menus, we cater for everybody. I must say that it is a lot of hard work. I think it's a good challenge for me as a woman.
Lani still faces many hurdles, however, as her business is still relatively new and she is still trying to break into the market.
We've picked up a lot of business since we opened. We've been open now for about 17 months. And we've picked up, but we have a different clientele from the coffee shops, like I may say, the very opposite from Cumming Street and Mbukalo, and our clientele is totally different.
The restaurant in the Young Women's Christian Association building is the only commercial a la carte cafe outside of hotels. Unlike your average favorite eat-out place, most of its customers are older than the woman who runs it. Clara Visaniwailala, who is only 24 years old, formed a company with her mother, an acute businesswoman, and it was only recently that they took over the cafe. Clara's practically running the business on her own, which when she took over was running into a number of debts. She has a lot on her hands. Despite her lack of experience, she has firm ideas on how to run the business.
It came to a stage seven months ago whether we were going to sell the business or continue with it. No one had been here for the last 2.5 years running the place. The place had been running itself for the last 2.5 years. Somehow, miraculously, it didn't run into big problems until, like I said, 7 months ago. So then now it was a stage, are we going to sell it or are we going to keep up with it? At the time, I wasn't doing anything with my life. I was at USB and it looked like I might continue with USB for too long. So my mother suggested that I try and run the place. So I've been here now 7 months and things are going good. I took the place on with quite a lot of debts. I've managed to bring it down to just 2 outstanding debts at this stage.
We've only scraped the surface of a much larger group of astute women in the country who have taken a risk and plunged into the unknown depths of business. But there are many more out there providing the highest quality of service to a demanding public and holding their own in a country where investors are just beginning to regain their confidence in the economy following the return to democracy in May 1992. These 3 women certainly have all the confidence it takes to achieve their goals and make their dreams come true.
Well, I hope to extend these. Right now I'm doing a lot of outside catering, big catering too. I'm looking at other things as well apart from the coffee house.
My plans for the future are to first of all get over those debts and then expand, because that's the only way that I'd be able to make any money in the future, is to expand. I've actually been able to do something with my whole 100%, a whole 100% effort. I intend to stay here forever to make this my career.
If I was to dream, it would be that this would serve as a beginning of things to come, a showcase of developing our own line of clothing that would extend it in towards accessories, accessories that include Fiji-made bags, contemporary bags that I'd love to have a hand in designing, Fiji-made shoes that would coordinate with our clothing, a variety of Fiji-made accessories, and all under the same trademark, and go beyond. Cover first the key Pacific areas. I'd like to have a presence in Europe, but I'm not sure if a boutique would be the way to do it. I think an ideal partnership with a partner in the US and likewise in Europe. But in a small measure, it would be wonderful. That would be the ultimate, to have a presence in America and in Italy, for instance, and say, hey, someone from Fiji is able to make it, and to serve as an inspiration to others.
And that is all for this week. I hope you enjoyed the program, and you can get a copy from the Department of Information, Government Building Suva, for only $20. Stay safe and join us again same time next week as we dig more into the chronicles of history.